Hi, I'm Dr. Jeremy Neal. I'm a philosopher at Houston Baptist University. Today I want to talk about Aristotle on the subject of virtue. In Book 2 of the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle famously divides human virtues into two kinds, intellectual and moral. The intellectual virtues are acquired by teaching, and they're the virtues of the rational part of our soul, according to Aristotle. The moral virtues, by contrast, are acquired by practice, not by teaching, and they're the virtues that are associated with the spirited and vegetative parts of our soul. In the second book of the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle goes on to talk at length about the acquisition of the moral virtues. Think of it this way. Moral virtues, according to Aristotle, are acquired in the same way that any other skill or excellence is acquired. When I was a kid, my parents made me play the piano. I dreaded those piano lessons every week. But by practicing the piano over a long period of time, I eventually became much better at it. In the same way, Aristotle argues, human beings can actually become better at virtue by practicing it over a long period of time through many different decisions and actions. So think of it this way. If you desire to be a courageous person, to have the virtue of courage, then act in courageous ways. Do courageous things and you will acquire a character state of courage, which corresponds to your desire. Do you want to be self-controlled? Act as if you already possessed the virtue of self-control. That is, act as though you already had the character state of being self-controlled, and over time, you too will become self-controlled. Is your desire to be generous? Behave as the generous man behaves, and the virtue of generosity will develop in you. Again, this process takes a long period of time. We wouldn't say of someone who is, say, a 350-pound man or something like that, who refrains from a second helping of chocolate chip cookies when the plate comes by a second time at dinner, we wouldn't say of him that he is a self-controlled person. It's only after a number of choices like that, many thousands of choices even, that he becomes, in our eyes, a self-controlled person. So actions and character then exist in a feedback relationship for Aristotle. Actions produce character, and character produces actions. Self-controlled actions, once engaged in by the agent, produce a character state that corresponds to those actions and that is itself self-controlled. And once agents have that character state of self-control, they become more capable of engaging in actions of self-control. Notice, though, at the same time that this feedback relationship can actually go the other way. So by engaging in vice or vicious actions, over time you develop a character state that corresponds to those vicious actions. You develop a character state of vice. If you choose gluttony, then over a period of time your character will change and you will want to do the gluttonous thing because you will become a gluttonous person. At any rate, we all do aspire to virtue, and the feedback relationship is a very comforting thing for those of us who have worked very hard on our character over a long period of time, because it suggests that it's not possible to lose our state of character very quickly. States of character are formed slowly and do not change just because of the whims of agents. Aristotle goes on in the second book of the Nicomachean Ethics to describe virtue in terms of a golden mean. So this is the practical definition of virtue, if you will, for Aristotle. A virtue is an excellence which enables an agent to attain certain goals of the roles in which he is engaged in. But virtue for Aristotle in the second half of the Nicomachean Ethics is a golden mean between two extremes. Generosity is a mean between the extremes of lavishness, perhaps, and of a virtue or a vice that Aristotle calls niggardliness. Similarly, self-control is a mean between the extremes of asceticism, that's the deficiency of the virtue, and the excess of gluttony. Something like that might be at the excess. Courage is a mean between the extremes of cowardice and rashness. The mean for Aristotle is not always an absolute mean. Sometimes it's closer to one side than to the other of the continuum that he describes. So, for instance, for Aristotle, courage is more like rashness than it is like cowardice, and self-control feels more like asceticism than it does like gluttony. At any rate, the prudent person, in Aristotle's words, the phronimos, it's the Greek word for the prudent man, the prudent person will know where the mean is and will know how to hit the mean. So virtue once acquired then enables the phronimos to choose the mean in any given situation so that he can engage in correct action.